Caitlin Clark was 8 years old the first time she made the world notice, without anyone watching. On a cracked driveway in Des Moines, Iowa, under flickering streetlights, she was shooting a basketball that looked too big for her hands.
Before she was dominating the top women in America, she was a little kid.
Over and over, missing, adjusting, hitting, never stopping. No coaches, no cameras, just a girl and a ball, practicing like the entire game depended on her next shot. That girl grew into a force that fills arenas, breaks records, and makes the impossible look ordinary. And it all started on that quiet driveway, in the dark, with nobody paying attention, except history itself. Quiz. What was 8-year-old Caitlin Clark doing on that driveway in Des Moines? A. Shooting nonstop jumpers. B. Dribbling tricks for fun. C. Just tossing the ball around. Think you know the answer? Don't scroll. Your guess might be closer than you think, and do comment in the comment box. I'll reveal the right one later. Caitlin Clark, born to dominate. Caitlin Clark was born on January 22, 2002, in Des Moines, Iowa. Her parents, Brent and Ann, were both athletes. Brent played basketball and baseball. Ann was a point guard in high school. Sports weren't a hobby in the Clark household. They were the family language, the kitchen table conversation, the thing that organized weekends and defined the emotional rhythm of the house. When Caitlin was old enough to hold a ball, she held one. When she was old enough to shoot, she shot. And when she was old enough to compete, she competed against everyone, including her two brothers, Blake and Colin, who were older, bigger, and had no intention of letting their little sister win anything. That detail matters more than people realize. Caitlin didn't grow up playing against girls her age in organized settings where everyone got equal playing time and the score didn't matter. She grew up playing against boys who were faster, stronger, and taller.
Her dad, Brent, couldn't find a girls' league at that age, so she was the boys' problem in West Des Moines.
In a driveway where the score always mattered. Because losing meant getting teased at dinner. She learned to play physically before she learned to play pretty. She learned to take contact before she learned to avoid it. She learned that the ball doesn't care how old you are or how big you are. It only cares about the quality of the shot. And Caitlin's shot, even at 8, even at 9, even shooting on a hoop that was too high with a ball that was too heavy, was special. Her father saw it first, not because he was looking for it, but because it was impossible to miss. The release, the way her wrist snapped at the top, the arc. It wasn't a kid's shot, it was a shooter's shot, mechanically clean in a way that kids who haven't been formally coached almost never produce. Brent Clark didn't push his daughter into basketball. He didn't have to. She was already there, already obsessed, already the last one off the driveway every single night. What he did was point her in the right direction. He found her better. Competition. He drove her to gyms and camps and AAU tournaments across the Midwest.
One of the mothers complained because a girl shouldn't be allowed to play in a boys' tournament.
Watching from the bleachers as his daughter systematically outplayed every kid in front of her, boys and girls alike. By middle school, the word was spreading in Iowa basketball circles. There was a girl in Des Moines who could shoot from anywhere, pass like a point guard twice her age, and compete with a ferocity that made coaches uncomfortable and opponents nervous. She wasn't the tallest player on the floor. She wasn't the fastest, but she was, without question, the most dangerous. Because Caitlin Clark, at 12 years old, already had the thing that separates good athletes from transformative ones. She was hungry, not the kind of hunger that comes from wanting to be famous or wanting to impress people, the kind that comes from somewhere deeper, somewhere almost primal, the need to be better today than she was yesterday and to prove it every time she touches the ball. That hunger was about to meet a stage big enough to hold it. Time's up. It's finally time to reveal the correct answer. You got it right if you chose C. How many of you did? Building a legend at Iowa, at Dowling Catholic High School in West Des Moines, Caitlin Clark stopped being a local curiosity and became a regional phenomenon. She averaged over 20 points a game as a freshman. By her junior year, she was the most recruited girls basketball player in the state of Iowa and one of the most sought-after prospects in the entire country. She was named a McDonald's All-American. She was ranked as a 5-star recruit. Powerhouse programs came calling: UConn, Notre Dame, Texas, Oregon. Schools with national championship pedigrees and billion-dollar athletic departments, and the kind of infrastructure that turns elite recruits into household names. Caitlin Clark chose Iowa. Let that decision breathe for a second, because it tells you more about who she is than any stat line ever will. She chose to stay home. She chose the program that wasn't on top, the program that hadn't won a national championship, the program that wasn't supposed to compete with the Blue Bloods. She chose it because it was hers, because Iowa was where she came from, and she had zero interest in going somewhere else to borrow someone else's legacy. She wanted to build one, and then she built it. What Caitlin Clark did at the University of Iowa over 4 seasons is difficult to summarize without the numbers sounding made up. She became the NCAA's all-time leading scorer.
Caitlin Clark, the all-time leading scorer in major college basketball history. Queen Caitlin.
Men's or women's? Read that again. Not the women's record, the record. She surpassed Pete Maravich's legendary mark that had stood since 1970, a record many basketball observers considered untouchable. She finished her college career with over 3,900 points. She averaged over 27 points per game as a senior. She dished out more than 8 assists per game. She recorded a 40-point triple-double in the NCAA tournament, a performance so staggering that even people who don't follow women's basketball stopped what they were doing and watched. But the numbers, as absurd as they are, only tell half the story. The other half is what happened around her. Carver Hawkeye Arena, Iowa's home court, had spent years half-empty for women's games. That's not a criticism. That was the reality of women's college basketball at virtually every program in the country outside of a handful of traditional powers. Fans watched on TV if they watched at all. Student sections showed up for football and men's basketball and maybe wandered over for a women's game if there was nothing better to do on a Tuesday night. Caitlin Clark made that impossible. By her junior year, Iowa women's basketball games were selling out. Not half full, not decent turnout. Sold out, 15,000 seats, standing room only.
A sold-out crowd in Evanston tonight for the Northwestern women's basketball game against the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Road games started selling out too. Teams that had never drawn a significant crowd for a women's game were suddenly playing in front of packed arenas because people bought tickets specifically to watch Caitlin Clark.
Iowa's Caitlin Clark has become a national phenom, and some fans say they went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
The 2024 NCAA Women's Championship game between Iowa and South Carolina drew nearly 19 million television viewers, making it the most watched basketball game, men's or women's, college or professional, in over 5 years. That number wasn't a typo, it was a cultural earthquake. She didn't just break scoring records, she broke attendance records. She broke television records. She broke the assumption that women's basketball couldn't command the same attention as the men's game. And she did it from Iowa, not from a coastal media market, not from a historic powerhouse, from the state where she learned to shoot on a cracked driveway with a rusted hoop. But fame of that magnitude doesn't come free, and the bill was about to come due. The spotlight gets heavy on April 15th, 2024. The Indiana Fever selected Caitlin Clark with the first overall pick in the WNBA draft.
In the 2024 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever select Caitlin Clark.
The moment her name was called, the room erupted. Not just because she was the obvious choice, because everyone in that room and everyone watching from home understood that this wasn't a normal draft pick. This was a bet. The WNBA was betting that Caitlin Clark could do for the professional league what she had done for the college game. Fill the arenas, move the needle, make people care. The weight of that expectation would have crushed most 22-year-olds. Clark carried it the way she carries everything. Quietly, directly, and with a look in her eyes that said she'd already thought about it more than anyone giving her advice. But the WNBA didn't welcome her with open arms. Not everyone, anyway. There's a dynamic that plays out in professional sports whenever a young player arrives with unprecedented hype. The veterans who spent years building the league, playing in front of sparse crowds, grinding through seasons where nobody was watching and nobody cared, those veterans don't always appreciate it when a rookie walks in and gets more attention in her first week than they received in their entire careers. It's not jealousy, or at least it's not only jealousy. It's something more complicated. It's the feeling of being invisible in your own house while a guest gets the spotlight. Clark felt it on the court. The physical play was immediate and relentless. Hard fouls, body contact off the ball. The kind of treatment that veteran players use to send a message. Welcome to the league, now earn your place. Some of it was standard rookie hazing that every first-year player endures. But some of it, and this was visible to anyone watching the games, crossed the line into something targeted. Clark was absorbing contact that wasn't just competitive, it was personal. The media response was equally intense. Every game became a referendum. Every bad shooting night was evidence that her game didn't translate. Every great night was dismissed as being against a weak opponent. Pundits who had never watched a full WNBA game in their lives suddenly had opinions about her impact. The conversation became less about basketball and more about culture, about race, about gender, about who deserves attention and why. Clark's name became a Rorschach test. What you saw in her said more about you than it did about her. And through all of it, Clark did what she's always done. She played. She took the hits and got back up. She shot poorly in some games and came back the next night and scored 30. She turned the ball over under pressure and responded with a no-look assist that made the entire arena lose its collective mind. She didn't engage with the noise. She didn't fire back at critics on social media. She didn't complain about the physicality in press conferences. She just played. And the playing over time answered every question louder than any press conference ever could. There's a question buried in all of this that the sports world hasn't fully reckoned with. When a player arrives who is genuinely transformative, who brings attention and revenue and cultural relevance to a league that desperately needs all three, does the league have a responsibility to protect that player? Not from competition, from harm, from the kind of targeted physicality that has nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with resentment. It's a question that doesn't have a comfortable answer, but it's one that Caitlin Clark's rookie season forced into the open, and it's not going away. Because the thing about Clark is that the controversy never defined her. The basketball did. And what the basketball revealed was something bigger than any individual game or any individual narrative. The power of 22. There's a video that circulates on social media every few months. It's from an Indiana Fever game, shot on someone's phone from the lower bowl. The game is over. The Fever won. And Caitlin Clark is walking toward the tunnel, but she's not walking fast. She's stopping. At every outstretched hand, every kid pressed against the railing with a marker and a jersey and eyes the size of dinner plates.
She's the little girl scored the autograph that she asked for during the game. She got it.
She's signing. She's taking photos. She's kneeling down to talk to a little girl who's crying, not from sadness, but from the sheer, overwhelming emotion of being 3 feet away from her hero. Clark says something to the girl. Nobody watching the video can hear what it is, but the girl stops crying. She nods. She smiles. And Clark moves on to the next kid, and the next, and the next. She's the last player off the floor by 15 minutes. That video matters because it shows you something that the highlight reels can't. Caitlin Clark understands what she represents, not in an abstract media-trained way, where athletes say the right things in press conferences and then disappear into SUVs. She understands it in a bone-deep, personal way. She knows that every little girl in that arena wearing a number 22 jersey is looking at her and seeing a future that didn't exist 10 years ago. A future where women's basketball isn't an afterthought, where the arenas are full, where the games are on television, where the players are famous for how they play, not just for being women who play. The numbers behind her cultural impact are staggering. Indiana Fever merchandise sales increased over 600% after she was drafted. WNBA viewership on ESPN jumped to levels the network hadn't seen in decades. Road arenas that used to have entire sections tarped off were suddenly scrambling to add seating. Charter flights, which the WNBA had been slow to provide, became a more urgent conversation, in part because the league's most marketable player was traveling commercially while generating billions in attention. Corporate sponsors who had ignored women's basketball for years started writing checks. Nike, State, Farm, Gatorade,
Caitlin Clark now has her own brand logo with Nike.
They weren't signing Caitlin Clark because they believed in gender equity. They were signing her because she moves product, because people watch when she plays, because attention follows her like gravity follows mass. But the part of Clark's impact that doesn't make the business sections is the part that matters most. It's the AAU gyms across the country that are suddenly full of 10-year-old girls pulling up from the logo because they saw Caitlin do it. It's the high school programs in Iowa and Indiana, and states that never cared much about girls' basketball that are now seeing increased participation numbers. It's the fathers bringing their daughters to WNBA games for the first time, not because they feel obligated, but because they genuinely want to watch. It's the slow, seismic shift in perception that happens when a single person demonstrates, through undeniable excellence, that something the world had been dismissing actually deserves its full attention. Her family remains her center of gravity. Brent and Ann Clark still attend nearly every game. Her brothers are regulars in the crowd. She talks about them with the unguarded warmth of someone who hasn't let fame create distance from the people who knew her before any of this started. In a sports landscape where young stars are routinely consumed by their own celebrity, Clark has remained remarkably grounded. Not boring, not sanitized, grounded. She's competitive to the point of ferocity on the court and calm to the point of stillness off it.
Her mark here, and it's just incredible to see all the fans and how much she's just put into working, and then the impact she's had on this city is just amazing to see.
That combination is rarer than a 40-point triple-double. And it's that combination, excellence and humanity together, that makes what comes next so important. The future of the game. Women's basketball is standing at a crossroads, and Caitlin Clark is the reason the crossroads exists. For decades, the WNBA operated in a kind of respectful obscurity. Talented players, legitimate competition, passionate but small fan bases. Media coverage that ranged from minimal to non-existent. The league survived, which was itself an achievement, but it never thrived the way its founders had hoped. The attendance was modest. The salaries were a fraction of the NBA's. The cultural footprint was light enough that most sports fans could go years without thinking about the WNBA at all. Clark didn't fix all of that. One player can't. But she did something arguably more important. She proved it could be fixed. She proved that the audience existed, that the demand was real, that people would show up, would pay for tickets, would clear their schedules on a Friday night to watch women play basketball at the highest level, if the product was compelling enough and the star power was magnetic enough and the story was good enough. Clark provided all three. And in doing so, she removed the last excuse the sports industry had for treating women's basketball as a minor league curiosity. The question now is whether the infrastructure will rise to meet the moment. Will the WNBA expand its schedule, its media deals, its revenue sharing in ways that capitalize on the attention Clark has generated? Will the league invest in the kind of player development, travel accommodations, and marketing that a product of this quality deserves? Will the next generation of transcendent players in their coming arrive into a league that's ready for them, or will they face the same growing pains that Clark endured? And there's a harder question underneath all of that. Will the league protect its stars? Not from competition. Competition is the point, but from the kind of unchecked physicality that risks injury to the very players generating the attention and revenue that keeps the league alive. Every professional sport in the world has had to answer this question at some point. The NFL eventually acknowledged that destroying its quarterbacks was bad for business. The NBA implemented rules to protect its perimeter stars from the kind of physical abuse that was common in the 1980s and 1990s. The WNBA will have to make similar decisions, and the Caitlin Clark conversation is accelerating that timeline. What Clark symbolizes ultimately is possibility, not the vague, inspirational poster version of possibility, the concrete, measurable, undeniable version. She proved that a women's basketball player can be the biggest story in sports.
As we all know, Caitlin Clark has changed the face of the WNBA, whether it's ticket sales, how to play the game.
She proved that the audience is there if the product is there. She proved that a girl from a driveway in Iowa can walk into the most skeptical rooms in professional sports and make every single person in those rooms pay attention, not by asking, by being so good that looking away isn't an option. And she's 22. She hasn't even started yet. The driveway in Des Moines is quiet again, but the story isn't. Every shot she takes, every court she steps on, sends ripples far beyond the scoreboard. Caitlin Clark didn't just arrive, she forced the game to change, and now the question isn't what she can do next, but how far the rest of the world can keep up. Records will fall, arenas will fill, strategies will be rewritten, and somewhere, someone else will be standing on a driveway, in the dark, dreaming bigger because she showed them what's possible. The game will never be the same, but the story is just beginning. So here's the real question. When greatness moves this fast, who or what will be ready to meet it?